What fact is common knowledge to people who work in your field, but almost unknown to the rest of the population? Drowning is silent. I pulled out a kid literally less than a foot away from a large group of adults, and not one of them noticed that his head was totally submerged and that he was struggling. More people die in lifeboat drills than they do in any other marine incidents. There is a period of time every year that in the U.S., the Department of Transportation pulls over any and every truck that they can. During this period, many trucking companies take vacation time, as the potential hassle is not worth the money made during this time. Just because a disabled person is nonverbal, that doesn't necessarily mean they can't understand everything you're saying. It's crazy how often I have to tell my own staff to watch what they're saying. These kids still get embarrassed or upset if you talk about the massive garbage they just took right in front of the whole class. Edit. Never thought I'd be saying this, but thank you for the gold, kind stranger. The conversation this has caused has been amazing. I've loved reading through the replies and threads, and some of your stories have been really heartwarming. Thanks for making my day, Reddit. You cannot go from having black hair to silver or platinum blonde in one sitting. It takes multiple, and 9 times out of 10, your hair is fried beyond repair by the end of it. Kim Kardashian or whoever you pinned on your Pinterest page or Instagram is wearing a wig. Potential cancer cells develop in the human body every day, and our immune system efficiently kills them without any trouble, and we just go on living our lives like nothing ever happened. Edit. Potential was added to clear up terminology. Many of the cells the immune system eliminates may not have progressed to the point where they could cause disease, and there are many other mechanisms through which the body curbs cancer development. Being a civil attorney, we almost never go to jury trial, and the job can be unbelievably boring. The maximum spacing between spindles in a railing is 4 inches because that's the average size of a baby's head. Most building officials will carry a 4-inch sphere with them when doing inspections on new construction. The best treatment for a child with anxiety is treating their parents' anxiety. Edit. Thanks for the awards, kind strangers. For those curious, I am a licensed mental health professional that specializes in children. I appreciate that some people noted that anxiety is a necessary, healthy reaction that all people experience. Very true. Worries help keep us safe and let us know when there is danger. It's the worries that interfere with daily functioning that become an issue. I think of anxiety issues on a spectrum. On one end is a healthy dose, and on the other is a diagnosable anxiety disorder. There are people all across that spectrum that would benefit from therapy and/or learning some adaptive strategies. As some have pointed out, a child's anxiety is not 100% a result of a parent's anxiety. There are, of course, cases where a child develops anxiety due to other circumstances. However, in the majority of cases with anxiety in children, it can be treated by treating the parent. Children look to their parents for guidance to learn about what is and isn't safe. They are sponges that are constantly learning how to react to different things they approach. One of the easiest examples to see this is when a child experiences a minor injury, scare. They will naturally look to a trusted adult to judge how they should react. If the adult gasps, comes running with their arms extended, making a worried face, the child learned that was bad and they should be upset, hurt, scared. If the parent was to smile, shrug, and say, "Oh man," the child will likely brush it off and move on, unless they acquired an injury. Of course, think about this on a bigger scale. If a child is consistently learning the world is a scary and dangerous place, there are threats everywhere, etc., they are being set up for anxiety issues. Same goes for specific phobias. Many of these are directly taught to children by seeing their parents fear. Nothing says to be afraid of something more than the person you rely on for your survival showing their own genuine fear. Simply following up with children regarding a scary or uncomfortable experience can make a world of difference. If you can inform them of what made that specific experience dangerous or scary, that helps teach them what to look out for instead of generalizing that fear to any experience that involves the same factors. One common example is children's fear of bugs. The children have never had a bad experience with bugs, but the fact their parent runs away screaming from them each time she has an encounter is a pretty clear message to them that they are not safe to be around. Nothing like the person you trust most in this world expressing panic to discourage you from even getting close to them, especially when she tried reinforces your anxious reactions by holding you and crying with you after you nearly escaped death by a caterpillar. Not my current field, but when I worked at Starbucks, not a lot of people understood that a larger espresso drink does not always equals more caffeine. A tall drink has 1 shot, grande has 2, and a venti also has 2, unless it's iced and then it gets a 3rd shot. So many times customers would order a grande latte and say, "You know what? You'd better make that a venti. I can use the extra caffeine," when in fact the larger size is just more diluted with milk. If you are looking for more caffeine, a drip coffee is going to be the most bang for your buck. Also, this seems really obvious, but a lot of people would get upset when they ordered a flavored coffee and saw that I would put syrup in it. No, coffee beans do not naturally come in caramel, vanilla, toffee nut, raspberry etc. flavor. Office copiers cost upwards of $7,000 and can go for $15,000 minus $20,000 depending on print speed and capacity. Neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, starts way before the first symptoms appears. No one wake up suddenly one day with Alzheimer's. From actual data, it seems that the disease is rampant for 10 to 15 years before the first symptoms. Some research say that you can start identifying abnormalities 20+ years before the memory loss begin, and it works for all neurodegenerative diseases. A fake. The toner in your printer is plastic being melted onto the paper. I worked as an insurance adjuster. Most people have no idea what homeowners insurance actually does. Here is a very simple guide to understanding what is covered by homeowners insurance. Greater than a sudden and one-time occurrence, while there are some exceptions to this. Understanding those few words will help you understand 95% of what is and is not covered by your policy. Note: my experience applies to U.S. insurance only. In some museums, what you see on the shelves can be less than 10% of the whole collection. For example, the Louvre has over 460,000 items in their collection, and only has space to display about 35,000 of those, roughly 7.6% of their total collection, due to limited physical space, and for aesthetic purposes. Most items in museums stay back in storage and/or archives. Plus, most items need to be maintained at certain temperatures and light. If we can't meet those needs, it will never be allowed for public viewing, ever. They're most likely some of the most amazing, visually stunning pieces of artwork that you or anyone will never get to see. Bonus: accession and deaccession can also be a touchy area. Just because it's old doesn't mean we're going to take it and add it to the collections, and we try to be nice to people who are disappointed we won't take their precious family heirlooms other times. It's easier just to say, "Yeah, we don't want that," edited. For correct percentage of the Louvre's collection, it's lower than I thought. Edited again. For those who are asking, I have a BA in art history and a master's in museum studies. I presently work as a digital preservation librarian in the archives and special collections of a university, and have worked in numerous museums, universities all over the world. It's been quite a fulfilling job. I've handled artwork from Michelangelo, Rembrandt, Warhol, Pollock, Picasso, and many more. Ask away, and I'll answer if I can. All processors begin as top of the line and then may end up lower because they didn't make the threshold. Explaining with an example, less than edit. The following is only an example to make things a bit oversimplified and not the actual specs or the actual names. Less than edit. Intel only tries to make i9 processors. Let's say they have 16 cores. Since the process of making these is hard, only 20 to 30% have all cores working. Next they see the amount processors with more than or equal to 8 cores. Disable extra cores just to make sure only 8 cores work and ship them as i7. Next 4, 5, 6 and 7 in all. Only 4 cores are left working and shipped as i5.2 and 3. Only 2 cores are left operating and all others are switched off. Shipped as i3. Hope that makes sense. Also, this was a hypothetical example. Not all facts may be accurate. They should be, but just in case. Also, this is done to minimize wastage, which in turn makes these things cheaper, so it's a win-win for all. Also, this isn't just done by Intel. Snapdragon, AMD all do it. So when you hear Nvidia is unable to meet the supply of their top-tier card, it's not because they didn't try hard enough. It is because they keep failing to reach the benchmarks they expect in their top-tier cards and sell them as low-tier because the yield is low. Note: this is a very difficult process and checking for mistakes in each piece at 14 nanometers is not possible, since verification is a destructive process. So if something is wrong, generally a batch gets screwed. Edit. Thanks for the silver. My first silver, important edit. This is a bit oversimplified. Low-end processors are also made, but they require setting up an entire assembly line, and thus are only done if there is a high demand and a very high probability of significantly better yield. Also, cores are not just the only parts disabled.